sources of defamation. But defamatory statements can also appear in tweets, Yelp reviews, YouTube videos, podcasts, wikis, online discussion boards, and elsewhere. In addition to showing that the statement was broadcasted or published, a person suing must also show that he or she has been individually identified. In many cases, this is also pretty easy to determine. If a person is named, he or she will almost certainly meet the identification requirement. In other cases, it's not so clear. If you do not explicitly name the person, but provide enough specific details that there can be no confusion over whom you're referring to, the identification standard is met. So if you defame the government executive who makes his home at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, it is still reasonably identifiable as the president. If there is no identification, a person cannot successfully sue for defamation, even if he or she believes that they are the one targeted by a false accusation. Back to the third part of the definition of defamation, and it's very clear. Only false statements of fact can be defamatory. There aren't too many black and white rules in the law, but this is one of them. Truth is an absolute defense to a charge of defamation. Even though you might know that Professor Johnson took a bus without permission and used it for a family vacation, though, do you have sufficient, reliable evidence, for example, verifiable documents, police reports, photographs, trustworthy unbiased witnesses, etc., to back your claim if Professor Johnson denies it? If you don't, you may not be able to rely on the truth to get you out of a defamation jam. On the other hand, if you know something is true and you can prove it, you can never be successfully sued for online defamation, no matter how much it might damage a person's reputation or how angry they might be. As the saying goes, a person is entitled to no greater reputation than they have earned. Next, the suing person must show that the defamatory statement is an assertion of fact, not an opinion. If a statement contains only opinion, it cannot be defamatory. Unfortunately, it is sometimes difficult to tell one from the other. In our example involving Professor Johnson, it is easy to tell that the statement is an assertion of fact. For one thing, facts are objective. They are either true or false. Either he unlawfully took the bus or he didn't. If instead you had simply said, Professor Johnson is horrible, the statement, which can't really be proven true or false, would be pure opinion and protected in a defamation lawsuit. Incidentally, this is one of the reasons why cyberbullying and internet trolling is so difficult to regulate. Most cyberbullying amounts to name-calling, statements like Johnny is fat, Pedro is ugly, or Rita is dumb. Although they are mean and they can seriously harm someone's feelings, they are not defamatory. Some statements contain both opinion and fact. For example, if you say, I think Professor Johnson is awful because he misused school property this summer, that's a mixed statement that might support a defamation claim. And be careful. Simply prefacing a statement with, in my opinion, will not protect you from a defamation claim if it contains untrue factual assertions. A close cousin of opinion is satire and humor. The publication of April Fool's emails, spoof articles on websites like The Onion, and other humorous or satirical online content occasionally prompts threats of defamation or other lawsuits by individuals who find themselves the target of ridicule. Generally, it's not a defense to defamation to claim that you were just trying to be funny or meant it only as a joke. Humor is not necessarily the same as opinion and does not enjoy blanket protection from lawsuits. However, if a statement cannot reasonably be interpreted by readers to be one of express or implied fact, it cannot be defamatory. In other words, as long as readers understand that a joke or a cartoon is not meant to be taken seriously, its subject cannot successfully sue for defamation. Subtle humor can be dangerous, though. For example, posting a photo to Instagram of a coach and an athlete and writing a joking comment that the two are having an affair might be funny to those who know it's a joke, but it might also be fairly believable to those who don't and possibly harm reputations. So to be safe, if you intend something as a joke, be sure that everyone will recognize it as such. Next up, in order to successfully sue for online defamation, the person suing must also show that the false statement about them caused serious harm to their reputation. Being mildly offended or embarrassed is not enough. Some statements about a person, if false, will almost always be sufficiently harmful to a person's reputation to support a defamation claim. For example, if you publish a statement that accuses a person of having committed a crime, such as stealing a school bus, your facts must be accurate because such accusations will almost always seriously harm a person's reputation. On the other hand, if you tweet that Professor Johnson gave you a dirty look in class today, he can't sue you for defamation even if you're lying. Once shown that a statement has been published, identifies a specific individual, is false, asserts a fact, and causes serious harm to a reputation, the person claiming defamation must still show one more thing when suing in an American court. The Supreme Court has said that in order to successfully sue for defamation, the First Amendment requires that the person suing must also show, at a minimum, that the defendant messed up, that he or she was somehow at fault. In other words, before you can be successfully sued, you must have done something a reasonable person would not have done, or failed to do something that a reasonable person should have done. When writing online about public officials or public figures, the person who claims he is